Hi there everyone, we are here again to give you an update on the Red River of the North Spring Flooding 2019. Let's see, our last video was a couple days ago, and things are really ramping up as compared to 48 hours ago. And we're going to be taking a look at the latest flood conditions and forecasts along the Red River. So as you can see here, more gauges are now lighting up for flooding. This is the Red River main stem, and its tributaries as well are also pretty high and are flooding as well. I now know how to actually pronounce this city. It's Wahpeton. This gauge continues to fall. They crested very late on the 31st of March, so it's been almost a week since the crest at Wahpeton. But the river does continue to go down, moderate flooding continuing. It's expected to drop below moderate flood stage sometime today and into the minor category, but it is expected to level off, as you can see there. So we'll see when that happens. But generally, the Wahpeton and Breckenridge areas have kind of really dodged a bullet, I guess you could say, with the spring flooding. Now, this is, of course, barring any significant precipitation over the next several days. Sorry, let me do this. This will be better. So there's the Wahpeton gauge. Go downstream at Enlow. Enlow does not have any flood heights defined, but you can see how it's already past the peak at Enlow as well. It's come down over a foot there. So that kind of should show you where the flood wave is right now, and you can actually see where it is. The flood wave right now is over the Hickson area. You can see it topped the moderate flood stage, but now it is leveling off. As you can see there, basically we've reached a crest at Hickson. It's a little early to determine if this is going to be the highest crest, but the far southern areas of southeast North Dakota do not have much of a snowpack left. So unless there is heavy rain over the area, we are not looking at any higher. We're likely not looking at any higher crests at Hickson. There may be a few times where the river does come up again and produce a secondary crest, but these secondary crests are probably going to be lower than this one. This will probably be the worst you see it at Hickson, unless we get heavy precipitation. This is the Fargo gauge. Fargo has now passed major flood stage. It passed it early this morning. The major flood stage is 30 feet. It is now at 30.5 feet, and it is still rising. You can see it is actually undercutting the forecast right now. So we are expecting them to update this here hopefully pretty soon. 35 feet still looks like a pretty reasonable forecast. I would give a range between 34 and 36 feet. That's kind of what they've been calling for. Will probably be the ultimate crest here. It is undercutting the forecast, so that could mean it might actually crest lower than 35 feet. That kind of remains to be seen. There is still some water around the Fargo area that has yet to move. The temperatures are consistently above freezing in this area, so that could accelerate this rise here, but a lot of the snow has melted in the Fargo area. So we'll have to see what happens there. Like I said, it is undercutting the forecast, but because there is still water in the area that has not yet reached the river system, this rise rate could still accelerate as what has been forecast, but has not yet happened. So 35 feet is still a pretty good middle ground forecast for Fargo. That is very well manageable for the city of Fargo. That may require some sandbags and maybe some emergency dikes. I know they've been working at that as needed, but 35 feet is well below the record value reached in 2009. So that's very good news for Fargo, at least for the near term. And again, this could go higher if we get heavy precipitation, and we'll be looking at that later. The Hallstatt gauge is overshooting the forecast just a little bit. It was forecast to be at 29.4 feet at 1 o'clock. It's already at about 29.2, and it's about 9 a.m. So it is overshooting the forecast, so we are expecting this forecast to be bumped up a little bit. You can see they've kind of leveled it off here at 37 feet as a crest, but that's not really official. Typically, when they level it off like that, that means that some rises could occur in the extended range, but there's some uncertainty with its height. But I do think that this will probably be raised up towards the major flood category, considering it is overshooting the forecast and has been thus far. So we'll see what happens there, but that is the latest high water forecast for Hallstatt. Here's the Thompson Bridge location. Again, there's no flood categories defined here, but it's continuously shooting up. It's past the 40-foot mark this morning. East Grand Forks and Grand Forks, you guys have officially passed the 28-foot flood stage. This value was reached just before 1 a.m. this morning, and it is now almost a foot above the flood stage as of 7:45 this morning. The Grand Forks flood forecast has been continuously been raised since it was first issued. The first forecast came out as 45 feet, and that is now up to 47.4. That is past the major flood category. This is not an official crest. That is why it does keep going up. This means that it is expected to be continuously rising over the next 7 days, and a crest is currently beyond the 7-day forecast. Based on the flood probabilities, it looks like the flood forecast or the flood crest for Grand Forks would probably be coming between April 15th and April 20th, and that looks to be reasonably accurate as well up to now. So 47.4. There's still quite a bit of snow and water that has not yet moved, basically north of the Hallstatt area. So I'm a little concerned with this area. The southern part of the Red River has thus far kind of avoided the worst that it could have been. However, the central and the northern parts of the Red may still get high up there on their predictions here. So one thing about Grand Forks, and this also happened in some of their other big floods, is that we have, if you look at the Red Lake River, which the Red Lake River meets the Red River right around the Grand Forks region, you can see the Red Lake River is forecast to go into at least moderate flooding. You can see their high water forecast there, 24 feet. This will probably coincide with the highest flows in Grand Forks, and that could actually, at least locally, could magnify how high the river gets at Grand Forks. So I'm a little concerned about that. If these two flood waves kind of meet, that's happened before, and it's caused the water level to end up being much higher than what the forecast is. So the 50% flood height, when they issued the probabilistic outlook in March, the 50% flood height, which means there's a 50% probability of reaching that height or exceeding, was just over 50 feet. I'm still thinking that could end up being what the flood crest ends up being for 2019. So that remains to be seen, of course, but that's just a personal opinion here. I think Grand Forks does have a pretty solid chance of getting those higher probabilities. All right, so let's move downstream. The Oslo gauge, the height has been increased further. You can see the river's actually overshooting the forecast here as well, still. And so we're probably going to see this flood forecast be raised as well. But 37 feet major flood stage, or it's a foot over major flood stage forecast in the next 7 days, and it will continue to rise beyond 7 days. So we are expecting this value to continue to go up. By how much, I'm not sure. It is overshooting the forecast by quite a bit, actually. Honestly, we could be looking at these forecasts get closer to that record height of 38.4. So we'll see what happens there, but that is the latest forecast at Oslo. And there is no high water forecast yet for Drayton or Pembina. I'm thinking that at least the Drayton gauge will probably get a high water forecast today, and Pembina probably by early next week. As I mean, both of these gauges still have quite a bit of ways to go before it's even at action stage, but still probably will receive a forecast here pretty soon. So that is the latest. Let's go to snow analysis. Actually, have not yet looked at it. Snow melt. So there's been some snow melt, mostly in the southern part of the red. You can see we still have yet to move a lot of water in the central, basically north of Fargo. So a lot of these rises that you've been seeing, even on the northern parts of the Red River, have been due to water entering the system, mainly in the southern part. So there's still quite a bit of water that has yet to move, and we're really keeping a close eye on that. So SWE change. Let's see how much is left. And see, this is what I'm kind of concerned about. Let me zoom in here. You can see that basically from Fargo on southward, there's not very much water left in whatever's left of the snow. But you get north of Fargo, and there's still quite a bit. You know, there's still areas where there's over 2 inches of water that has not yet moved. And so we're pretty concerned about that as we head into next week. And let's take a look at the Weather Prediction Center. The weather could potentially get more active, so we're gonna check this out here. You can see a lot of precipitation is expected over the next 7 days. Thankfully, not a lot is reaching the red, but the southern part of the Red River could actually get over ½ an inch of water over the next 7 days. So that could, where they get over ½ an inch of water, thinking that could have implications on the rises along the red, and that would go all the way north. So a big storm system is expected, potentially a couple big storm systems that will certainly have an impact. And there's still flooding happening in South Dakota, places south of where we're looking at now, and so renewed rises are almost a certainty in this area. So thankfully, just the northern part of this heavy precipitation area is kind of clipping the red, which is good, which is really good. We wouldn't want this to get up there. That would be 2 inches of additional water, and that would certainly not be good for this area. So we are watching that as well. I'm thinking that that's probably going to affect the high water forecast, so definitely stay tuned for the latest on that. But I just thought I'd keep making these videos as the spring flood continues to progress on the red. So far, not looking too bad, not looking historic. Yeah, we do have some gauges that will get in a major flood stage, and there will be some overland flooding. There already is overland flooding. But this is not looking like it's another 2009 or 1997 or 2011. Well, 2011 could be more plausible in the central and northern parts of the Red River Valley. But the south is really just kind of dodged a bullet, I guess you could say, in a way. Still got some flooding in the area, but not so on the historic levels that were being forecast before this all started. So that's all I have for you guys. I will update you as new information is received. Thank you.